Hey everyone, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. So cable operators all pretty much agree that fiber is the future, but can be an expensive proposition to overbuild yourself. So they're trying to make a decision on what they're going to do as far as maintaining their HFC plant, rolling out fiber. Today we're going to be looking at one regional provider in the Midwest and what they're doing. Be right back. Thanks for joining me. Rick Husey here with Broadband Deployment News. I saw this story and I think this is a good example of what cable companies are doing and what kind of what they're struggling with as far as, again, making decisions on what they're going to do about fiber. Because again, pretty much I think all of them realize fiber is the way to go, but it is, if you've already got a lot of infrastructure out there, hybrid fiber coax infrastructure, the coax portion of it can be a difficult decision on what to do and where and when. So there are options for cable companies to continue to upgrade their HFC plant, and they can actually be quite competitive with fiber. Maybe head to head, people are going to look at speeds and whether they're symmetrical, those kinds of things, depending on whether it's DOCSIS 3.1 or DOCSIS 4, there's going to be certain advantages fiber is going to have. And certainly for the future, fiber is the way to go. But cable operators, if they can, they want to go fiber. It's just a question of when. So I thought I'd take a look at this article, read through it. So you see your cable company Midco takes a methodical approach to fiber build. When Charter Communications' former CEO, Tom Rutledge, was still leading the company in May 2022, he said the idea that fiber is a superior technology to hybrid fiber coax, or HFC, was just dead wrong. After Fierce Telecom wrote a story with that quote, we received some vehement emails about his statement. Even though we were just the messenger, these emails suggested that Rutledge himself was just dead wrong. And I would have concurred, Rutledge himself was just dead wrong. There's a difference between saying that HFC is, like I mentioned, could be competitive to fiber in lots of areas, that you don't need to immediately rip out everything you have and put in fiber. But certainly fiber is a superior technology and will be moving forward. More than a year has passed since Rutledge's comments, and even though you'll never find a cable company that will denigrate its HFC network, it does appear that a few cable companies are now deploying more fiber, and even as they simultaneously upgrade their existing HFC plant. I wouldn't say, what does it say? It's a few cable companies. I think pretty much every cable company is making the decision on what they're going to do, and in most cases, they're considering they're making upgrades to their HFC plant, and they're doing fiber deployments. And as they make those upgrades to their HFC plant, they're putting in more fiber in that plant, even if it's not going all the way to the premise. So one such customer is Midco, a Midwestern service provider that offers broadband via HFC, fiber to the home, and fixed wireless access. So they're offering all three technologies, but I think they were traditionally a cable company, and obviously to reach new areas, they were probably doing fixed wireless access, and now I would think in new areas, pretty much, I think it says it in here, that they're doing fiber to the home. So they might have deployed some fixed wireless access before they got deep into fiber, and that was an inexpensive way to maybe go into a new territory that was nearby. So they've got all three technologies, or they may have acquired somebody that was a fixed wireless provider. So these are all areas that they could upgrade to fiber. In fact, the fixed wireless areas would be the easiest, because it would almost be like a greenfield deployment versus their cable. But it serves 490,000 homes and businesses in 400 communities in Kansas, Minnesota, Nebraska, North Dakota, and South Dakota, and Wisconsin. So quite a large provider, a regional provider, almost 500,000 homes. Ben Dold, Midco's chief operating officer, said the company is doing greenfield fiber to the premise builds in new communities and to large multi-dwelling units, but in brownfields is doing a mix, adding fiber deeper into neighborhoods, but also upgrading its cable plant. So again, what cable operators are doing as they upgrade their cable plant, they are trying to go fiber as deep as they can in that plant, because that will decrease the amount of maintenance that they need to do. It can decrease their costs once it's in there. Easier to maintain. It can help them increase speeds, get more reliable service to the end user. So basically what they're doing is they're deploying something like a distributed access architecture, like Remote PHY or Remote MAC-PHY. That's where you're taking a portion of maybe the physical components, in a Remote PHY solution, you're taking maybe the physical connections and going optical fiber out as close as you can to the customer, and then have the coax connecting from there. Or in the case of Remote MACPHY, you're taking basically what would be like a small CMTS and putting it out close to the customer instead of having a big piece of iron sitting in a central office or a head end. You're distributing it out further through these little small CMTSs. So cable operators are doing both now. Remote PHY, I think, is still probably winning there as far as how operators are doing that. So that's one way to improve the reliability of their network, to increase speeds, and to get familiar with running fiber, again, as far as they can, as close as they can to the end user customer. It's a good thing, or the good thing is DOCSIS 3.1 has a long runway to continue to improve speed, said Dold. Right now, our near term is to continue to bring fiber deeper and push DOCSIS 3.1 further as we evaluate. So that is something that cable operators can do right now without having to wait on DOCSIS 4.0 or even consider DOCSIS 4.0. They can do a lot with DOCSIS 3.1 because, again, distributed access architecture, DAA, is something that they can do under DOCSIS 3.1 to increase the speeds that they can offer both on the upstream and the downstream. Nate, sorry, should text a little small on my screen. Nate Kinzer, Midco's director of network intelligence, said the company looks at a couple of factors to decide whether fiber to the premises or a cable upgrade make the most sense. For one, it looks for a high penetration of business customers, in which case fiber is warranted. Also, it likes to deploy fiber via existing aerial plants. So if they have a territory where they've got a lot of commercial customers and they really need to provide those commercial customers where it's going to be more important that you have both high download and upload speeds, and maybe a symmetrical service is going to be much more important than it would be, let's say, for a home user. They see fiber as an option there. And it mentions the aerial plants. So if they've got a territory that is a lot of underground utility, it's going to be a lot easier on an aerial utility where they can replace the coax on the poles with fiber on the poles versus buried coax. It's going to be more economical in those areas. So those are a couple of the factors that they look at there. And as far as serving individual customers, like a business with fiber, you can do that now. I mean, there are gap nodes and other maybe proprietary nodes from some vendors where you can have a node out there that can serve both a cable customer and a fiber customer. So you can put in that, it would be like a fiber node, but you can put in that fiber node, again, going deep, close to the customer, you can put in something that can serve that customer with coax, or something that can then run fiber directly to the customer. So some cable companies are actually, in these areas where they can do that, picking and choosing. It could be that new customers that come online, they can connect up to fiber, and then their existing customers remain on coax unless somebody needs to upgrade to fiber for some reason. But sometimes HFC upgrades just make more sense in Midco's view, and that's true because a lot of times when you look at ripping out the existing last mile infrastructure, then what you find is that that's going to cost you thousands of dollars maybe, plus you've got to touch the end user equipment. You've got to do different things with provisioning, and it's a lot more expensive than, let's say, upgrading the cable plant. It might only cost you a couple of $100s per home to upgrade the cable plant versus maybe a couple of $1,000s or more for fiber upgrade. Dodd said the DOCSIS roadmap for 3.1 to 4.0 does bring tremendous speeds that rival fiber, and he said it's pretty disruptive to overbuild HFC with fiber. There's a tremendous value in that coax drop, and going full fiber also requires new equipment in the home, which can be costly. With DOCSIS, you can take advantage of the drop to the home and the existing CPE, he said. From a network engineer's perspective, Kinzer and Midco wants to get fiber deep enough to set up for the future, but not make radical overbuild decisions too early we may not be too happy with. So again, they're looking at it kind of strategically there as to where they're going to do this and what the costs are. So rather than going and just saying, we're just going to go ahead and do this now, they realize they can squeeze a lot more out of their cable plant just by doing upgrades that will still provide really good service. Now, it's going to be, again, a little bit more expensive maybe in maintenance kinds of costs because, again, the more fiber you get in there, the better. And if it's going all the way to the curb, that's ideal. But as they go fiber deep, that really does reduce their maintenance costs quite a bit. And let me add that we can help if you're a cable operator and you're looking at squeezing the most you can out of your HFC network. Check us out. I'll have our contact info here at the end, or just go to zquorum.com And you'll see that we've got a proactive network maintenance product called Pre-Equalization Analyzer that's specifically designed for improving the quality of your cable plant, reducing maintenance costs, because you can actually do proactive maintenance, fix things before they break, before they impact customers, and you can really squeeze the most out of your plant by making the most out of the RF spectrum that you've got available to you. So see a couple of comments here. Conway Fan 98, welcome back. Hello again. I've got an update on Charter's RDOF project in my area. Apparently they want more funds from the county in order to cover some of the cost. I assume the cost of construction is higher than it was when the RDOF auction happened. Unfortunately, my county has not been able to provide any funds to them, nor any funds from the state. Yeah, this is a problem. So in fact, they may be part of a group. I know there was a group of RDOF winners that are kind of petitioning the FCC to try to do a couple of different things, one of two different things. And I'm sure you hope it'll be the first thing. One would be to get more funds, and this would not be necessarily from the county, but from the FCC to get additional funds, because of the fact that you're right, with the inflation that we've had since the RDOF auction took place, there were supply chain issues which caused prices to jump significantly. Now, some of that has eased, but there's still just the general inflation that we've had. You've got energy costs that have gone up. That impacts everything that is bought or made. When you talk about having to, the increase in energy, that's going to just transportation costs, manufacturing costs, everything. And then, of course, as inflation goes up, wages go up because you've got to pay people more because of inflation. So then suddenly you're paying people more, and that causes inflation. It's kind of a bit of a spiral. So again, that is an issue. The second option that this group of companies is looking for is to say that, well, because of the cost increases, we can't really afford to do what we said we were going to do. So we would like to be let out of this without having any penalties. And I'm sure you don't want that to happen because of the fact that you've got an RDOF award in your area, and I'm sure you'd prefer that go forward. Now, of course, if the RDOF award does not go forward, I would think that area would then be accessible for BEAD funding, but that won't come about until probably early next year at the best, when companies can start working on that. So we'll see how that goes. But I guess we'll have to see. But Charter's not alone on that. There are other companies from small to large, probably, I think, that are in that same situation now. From a network engineer's perspective, Kinzer and Midco wants to get fiber deep enough to set us up for the future. So again, that's running the fiber as far as they can, as close to the edge of the customer as they can, but not make, I already said that, but not make radical overbuild decisions too early that we may not be too happy. In terms of fiber deployments, Midco is using 10G EPON, even though other service providers have moved on to XGS-PON. Cable companies are kind of tied to 10G EPON because it's compatible with the existing DOCSIS Ethernet-based provisioning, while XGS-PON is not. So EPON is compatible with it. Yeah, they're saying it's compatible. So what that's talking about is something called DPoE, or DOCSIS provisioning over Ethernet, I think it is. And what that allows you to do, it's a methodology of making a fiber CPE, which would be an ONT that sits at the customer's home, look like a cable modem. So therefore, a cable company that is primarily doing cable and then they want to go fiber to some area, they don't need to completely swap out their provisioning system and have to purchase a new provisioning system, learn a new provisioning system, manage two provisioning systems. They can do everything over DPoE and make those fiber devices look like cable modems, and they can provision the same way they always have. And that works for Ethernet. I think there are some options for XGS-PON or GPON. It's not as available, and so EPON is why a lot of cable companies. That's why a lot of cable companies are looking at EPON. He said, "I think the industry in general is evaluating the different paths. Everybody's network is different. Everybody comes at it from a different angle." At a Fierce Telecom Optical Summit last week, Zach Kronauer, fiber network manager with the cable MSO Blue Ridge Communications, talked a bit about PON. Pennsylvania-based Blue Ridge is in the process of rebuilding its HFC network with fiber and using XGS-PON technology. The company is about 250,000 subscribers, and Kronauer said it's currently passed about 20% of them with fiber. 80% of its deployment is aerial and 20% underground. He said XGS-PON doubles the split ratio of EPON, enabling it to reach twice as many homes and easing the cost burden for providers. Of DOCSIS 4.0, he said that it's still on the horizon and not a proven solution today, while fiber can be deployed now. I would say that's not true about it not being proven. DOCSIS, they're doing tremendous things with DOCSIS 4.0. I guess it's not proven in the field yet, but I think just like prior DOCSIS versions, DOCSIS 4.0 will come out and be very solid because of the cable lab standards and testing, all the testing that goes into it and the backward compatibility of it all. And DOCSIS 4.0 is really kind of a compilation of different things. So you've got distributed access architecture that I talked about. You've got extended spectrum DOCSIS, which is extending the spectrum further in the upstream and downstream areas so that you've got more spectrum to work with so that you can have more, faster speeds or more bandwidth in those areas. You've got DOCSIS, full duplex DOCSIS, FDX. That's something that Comcast is looking at, and believe me, they've done a lot of testing. That's where you can have symmetrical speeds up and down using the same spectrum, the same swath of spectrum. So lots going on with DOCSIS 4. I wouldn't say that it's not proven. It is proven certainly in the lab and in field testing. It's not yet, I think, a lot in production yet, but certainly extended spectrum DOCSIS and full duplex are going to be something that's going to further increase the speeds that cable operators can offer. And then it's interesting, he says 80% of their deployment is aerial and 20% is underground. So that would be a reason that they might be a little bit more aggressive in upgrading some areas with fiber. Maybe Midco has more underground plant than they do, I don't know. And they probably decided to bite the bullet on fiber provisioning and said, you know what, it's worth it for us to learn and deploy a new provisioning system for our fiber customers and have to support two provisioning systems for now, because we have the benefits of being able to do XGS-PON, that standard, and then also get the benefits of having fiber to the prem. But again, it's still going to be costly for them, even though they would be doing XGS-PON and they've got the provisioning figured out. It's still going to be costly for them to get that last mile changed out. So I would not expect them to also be, to immediately launch into completely overbuilding their coax, their HFC plant. They still have plenty of room with DOCSIS 3.1, and then they certainly have time, I think, to wait for DOCSIS 4.0 to come out and see what they want to do with that. They could, for example, go with extended spectrum DOCSIS, not have to try to figure out full duplex and what's going on with that, and get additional speeds just by doing that. So lots of options. So this is what we're seeing from the cable operators, and they are certainly, all trying to make the same decision and what they're going to do. And I think what I've noticed is a lot of them are taking this very similar approach from Midco. Some are being a little more aggressive, and they're saying, we're just going to start replacing our HFC plant, and do that. But most of them are doing greenfield fiber. So if they're going to open up a new service territory, it's going to be fiber. And then they may just be upgrading their DOCSIS plant where they're not doing greenfield, or some of them are kind of picking and choosing certain areas of their HFC plant. They are upgrading to fiber. It might be older parts of the plant that could use an upgrade anyway. So they're all kind of, it depends on who the cable operator is, but certainly a lot of them, most of them, are going to be keeping their HFC plant for quite some time because it still has a lot of life left in it. Thanks for joining me. I hope this was educational and helpful. If it was, if you give me a like on the video, I'd appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to our channel, go ahead and click the subscribe button. Ring the bell to be notified when I'm live. Thanks, Conway Fan 98, for watching today. And I hope that you do get some resolution on that. I know you've been waiting for a long time for faster service in your area and got that RDOF award, but looks like it's kind of on hold. So hopefully that will get resolved soon. And hopefully where they will get additional funds. Charter might be one that would move ahead anyway, because it's a big company. Maybe they're trying to see what they can do, and if they can't get the funds, they'll go ahead and move ahead anyway with that. I guess we'll have to see what happens. Thanks a lot, folks. See you next time. Bye-bye.